Beginners to fighting games often learn combos and use them as block strings. The problem with this approach is that they don't often give you options to open up an opponent, and are not necessarily safe on block. What is common for advanced players is look for things that are plus or minus on block. This would help you look for frame traps as well as steal a turn more often, or just know what's safe on block. In most games, you basically want to push them far enough away to be safe or in an advantageous position. Unless of course you play a game without mechanics that converse what's normally plus on block. In which case being plus on block is not always safe on block in every game. For example, I often tell beginners to stop mashing strings in Nitro Plus, since even though they are plus and safe in most games, predictable strings can easily be countered by barriers. Of course, more advanced players would react to hit or block and look for things that can open up your opponents based on habits, which can change from game to game. For example, you see Petunia throw about 5 to 7 overheads that are guard cancel safe. Now let's compare how I altered my block strings based on my opponents. This particular player was really patient, so I mostly went aggressive with mix-ups. This player liked the backward guard cancel counter on the first hit, so I ended up doing back guard cancel. I taught this player how to forward guard cancel. If you're playing against Liz Willette, it is good to know that she can position the doll to hit on block, and the doll's buttons can come out on block. This means she can counter without using any meter, but at the same time, because she has to hold forward to position the doll, you can get some free resets in on good reads. Again, I have to adjust, but what applies to all games is that you actually want to open up your opponent when they are blocking. This would require specific mix-ups and being able to read your opponent's habits and adjusting as they adjust. This would require specific mix-ups and being able to read your opponent's habits and adjusting as they adjust. What kind of overheads does your character have? Perhaps your character has a way to cross up your opponent, or ways to play high-low mix-ups. In Nitro Plus Blasters, for example, everyone has a universal short hop overhead that's normal cancelable as well as a guard break punch, which would lose to mashing. Here's a universal example that applies to many games. If normals are jump cancelable on block and air dashers are short, it's often possible to get a jump cancelable overhead. Or maybe you want to bait a reversal or whatever guard mechanic they have. Basically, you want to study your opponent's habits when they block, as well as react to hit and block confirms. But what about non-air dashers? Chizuru's 5B is jump cancelable, and jumping C is just a ridiculous cross-up button. Now let's look at one of the most simple grounded games. You may think block strings don't matter, so you would think there isn't much difference between a hit and a block. See how I mashed low to condition my opponent to block low and then throw an overhead? And of course use an example of an unsafe block string, which is good for combos. So basically, no matter what game you play, the first step is to find strings that are safe on block and study your opponent's habits. Then you either use frame traps or specific mix-ups to open up your opponent and adjust as they adjust. If you are defending, use the same concepts, but study common strings your opponent might use. Of course, I came up with a lot of examples that may be hard to understand and a lot of things that are hard to explain. But you just have to find examples in your particular game with the particular character that you like to play. You can probably apply the same concepts to other areas and games, and mix things up against more experienced players, to not be too predictable once you get this.